We now turn our attention to boxing, the rematch which has been booked. David Haye, Tony Bellew. Very entertaining fight first time round. The majority of people, the vast majority of people, were on David Haye, us included on this channel, and we got taught a lesson about sport, got taught a lesson about boxing. David Haye picked up that Achilles injury and eventually found himself picked off by a composed Tony Bellew. The rematch, there's been a lot of talks, there's been a lot going on in terms of the purses and the stipulations. Tony Bellew and Haye, not the best of friends. I think there's a respect for each other, but they don't like each other. And obviously where Haye was calling the shots for the first fight and subsequently lost, Tony Bellew this time has had the salt and pepper over on his side of the table, as he said would be the case in the interviews after he won the first fight. It's actually Tony Bellew's name that turns up first on the banner. It's Bellew versus Haye this time, rather than the other way around, and that's a psychological thing that Tony Bellew has asked for. He's trying to get into David Haye's head. David Haye, who was embarrassed by that first loss after some of the things he said, the confidence he had going into the first fight, and what subsequently happened. Obviously, he had a foot injury. He picked up an injury, but boxing is boxing. He has accepted he lost the fight, and he did lose it. So this time he's out for revenge. Some people are predicting a devastating KO win for Haye this time around. As a result of the emotion he's going to put into the fight. It's possible. He's a great fighter. I thought it was an embarrassing display in the first fight. He was reaching around a lot. He wasn't leaning on his punches, swinging all over the place. It wasn't composed. It wasn't the David Haye we're used to. And after such a long time out of the ring, it had been many years since he fought Derek Chisora in a competitive fight. Maybe it should have been less of a surprise as it was. But this time around, Haye would have trained heavily. This time around, there's no Shane McGuigan in the corner. He's changed his training team. He's changed his preparation. It's going to be interesting. I have it as a 50-50 fight this time around. I don't think we can think of David Haye as a David Haye we used to think of from the Derek Chisora fight and before. From his illustrious career as a cruiserweight. From his great victories over the likes of Nikolai Valuev. His title fight against Klitschko. I don't think we can think of him as a fighter of that ilk now. We have to think of him as a David Haye type 2 now. David Haye B or something like that. David Haye Series 2. He's 37 years of age. His body has obviously is showing signs of wear and tear. Yes, it looks good. He goes to the gym. Yes, he's in shape, but you have to look at the injuries he's had. You have to look at the number of fights he's pulled out of. So we can't think of him in the same way as we used to. Tony Bellew will be confident. He won the first fight. He was confident in the first fight. He's always confident anyway. He talks a good game. I can see this fight going, long distance. I think it will go out there. I think it will go certainly past the 8th round. The reason I say that is because Haye was reaching around in the first fight. He landed shots clean. I've looked back on it. Bellew took the shots. He took full-on punches from Haye. He took the power. He felt the power. This is before the Achilles injury, by the way. And he took it. So there's nothing to suggest that Tony Bellew wouldn't be able to do that again. If we look at the odds, we've got David Haye 4-11 is the favourite. Tony Bellew 9-4. Looking at those odds, I find them quite interesting. The bookies have seriously shortened up Bellew. I think Bellew was 8 or 9-1 in some places in the first fight. He's now 9-4. David Haye was really short in the first fight. Was it 2-7 or something along those lines? Very short price. He's out, 4-11 now. Hasn't drifted much. I don't think there's a lot of value in the betting. I see it as a 50-50 fight. Of the two, it's very difficult, this fight. It's literally, I don't even see it as a huge betting proposition. I don't think there's value on either side. The bookies have shortened up the prices. You go for David Haye, you're going to have to lay some juice. You're going to have to put down quite a few units to get something out of it at 4-11. Bellew at 9-4, it doesn't really appeal a huge amount. In terms of who I think will win the fight, I find it really tough. I think David Haye, if he doesn't get injured, he should win. He should win this time. He's got a lot of motivation on his plate this time. But obviously he's going in with a mentality I don't think he's had before. He's going in with a losing mentality, having lost the first fight. So it's an interesting one. I'm gonna go with David Haye as my selection. I'm going to say enjoy the fight generally. I'm not going to say it's a huge betting proposition. If you want to take David Haye at 4-11 in some sort of accumulator, then fair play. But I think, there's a lot of people going to say, Tony Bellew won the first fight, he should win the second. Well, it's that foot injury and it's the revenge factor that I think is going to come good for Haye. Haye has a big ego. I think as a person, he likes to think of himself in a positive light, and the first fight would have made him question that. He's got an L on his record to Tony Bellew, and it's not something he would have expected. He wouldn't have liked the months that have passed, having to eat humble pie. I've seen his interviews where he's accepting that Bellew beat him. It's not really him. He's usually a lot more braggadocious and has a lot more to say. Tony Bellew is the same old. He's saying the same old stuff. That Haye is small, he's a natural cruiserweight. It's the same stuff he was saying in the first fight. He's got that confidence. He's coming in with a better reputation this time around. It could be different in the fact that Bellew is coming in as a favourite here. He never usually does. He usually comes in as an underdog. So mentality-wise, that's a bit different. Can he deal with that? He seems to be a very confident guy, so I would have thought he could. But it's good to be aware of the change in mentality there. The change in expectations. Bellew coming in, as someone with a serious chance of winning this fight. In the first fight, most people said he was a no-hoper. It's not the case this time. So, give your comments as you see it on this fight. You must have opinions on this one. It's an easy one to have an opinion on. It's a very big fight. It'll be massive at the O2. Give your comments as you see fit. Like and subscribe, and see you next time.